Well, they are in the results of the 2020 Ariel-Schwab Black Investor Survey, and they've been released. And let's break down what the survey really shows. Kelly Johnson is with us, client portfolio strategist, Charles Schwab Investment Management. Kelly, I'm glad you're here with us. As I look through the report closely, it's evident that Black Americans are just not benefiting from stock market growth in the same way as some of their white American peers at similar income levels. Tell me more about the findings and what the data shows.
Sure, and thank you for having me on, Nicole. So we've been doing this study with Ariel since 1998, and this is the 12th version. We just completed this version in December of last year. And as you noted, we found that there's been a persistent pattern of when you compare Black Americans to white Americans, that we don't save at the same levels, we don't invest at the same levels, and therefore we don't grow wealth at the same levels. And so the whole point of us partnering with Ariel on this survey was to figure out some of the root causes behind this discrepancy and figure out some ways that we could address it.
And over time, you mentioned that you've been doing this survey since the late 90s. Is there any improvement?
Well, unfortunately, when you look at the level of, in terms of percentage of investors of Black Americans who invest, it's actually lower than it was 10 years ago. It's fallen to about 55% from 60%, which of course is why we're doing a lot of things right now to tackle this issue. Essentially, from the Black American perspective, the level of investment has fallen. However, on the bright side, we have seen a much higher level of engagement in terms of investing among those under 40, which gives us a lot to work with.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, actually. The survey showing some promising news for the younger investors and the engagement and I guess the belief to a certain extent to the stock market too, right? You have to be a believer in investing as well. You have to have the opportunity to invest, the money to invest, and you have to believe that it's a good investment. That being said, how does that compare to white American peers for the younger folks? Is it close, or is there still a big disparity, even though you're seeing improvement, which is good?
Yeah, when you talk about people under 40 in the data, the level of investment is almost identical. So 60%-ish of Black Americans and white Americans are actively investing. When you break it down into new investors, that is people who entered the market in 2020, it's actually quite exciting. We saw 15% of Black Americans were new to investing in 2020 compared to 5% of white Americans. So that was actually encouraging. And the other data point that jumps out was that 50% of Black Americans were first-time investors. So there are a lot of encouraging data, even though the overall trends are somewhat negative.
Yeah, that's truly thrilling. I really like that a lot. And we talk about some of the tools, and I know that's something you and your colleagues have been discussing, the tools and strategies and educational resources about financial literacy. And that's something that needs to improve. What are you finding, and what do you think could happen to better this situation?
Yeah, this is an area we're really excited about. I can't speak for Ariel, but I know at Schwab we're extremely excited. We have a number of programs that we're putting in place real time where we're addressing both the current situation, but also the future. So for example, with the current situation internally at Schwab, we're setting up mentoring programs such that underrepresented minorities can have some help with career path and career development. We've also begun partnerships with several major universities around the country to provide substantial scholarships for underrepresented minorities to essentially help broaden the pipeline into this industry. And then the third thing we're doing broadly is we're going into the community. We're having employees around the country volunteer to do investor education to teens and preteens around the country. So these are efforts that I personally am very excited about.
Yeah, I am too, Kelly. I mean, I think you're certainly getting us all excited about everybody having opportunities to improve. I mean, the other thing too is a compounded dollar. You know, part of the lesson for a young person. Any young person here in America is that a compounded dollar is worth so much more, right? If you save a few bucks over so many years, it will be worth more. How have you found the pandemic and savings rates for Black Americans? Do you have any data or statistics on that?
Yes, we do. And just to sum up the findings, as you might expect, if you accumulate wealth over time at a lower level, which is the Black American side of the equation, then when a large negative impact such as the pandemic hits, it has a greater impact on your life and your family. So when we looked at statistics such as, people who borrowed from their 401ks, or people who helped family members, or people who had to stay home to help relatives, it impacted the Black American community at a much higher level, which is what we would expect. So when we kind of tie in those results with some of the other findings in the data, it's pretty clear that things like having a longer history of investing and saving at a higher level, and also having greater levels of inherited wealth help you a lot when you have tough times. And we've seen that play out during COVID-19, unfortunately.
Yeah, and to your point, that happens, and as I read through this, the middle class Black Americans will have less money saved for retirement, less wealth to pass on to the next generation than their white peers. And you make the point, and that's what your point exactly. They're starting off with less, and so at a lower pay scale in some cases, and then less to invest and less to pass on. And it really is. I'm so glad we're working on this and making it better and with education. Kelly, thank you very much. Come back soon and give us some more data, and I hope it's always improving. Kelly Johnson, Client Portfolio Strategist, Charles Schwab Investment Management. Thank you.